Hey LAN Party Gamers, we are just days away from the next LAN A THON. We haven't had a LAN A THON 3-day LAN event in 5 years due to COVID and other issues. And, you know, instead of doing the same old thing this year, we're going to do a big upgrade using the fundraiser itself as a catalyst to make the fundraiser even more fun. So what we're doing right now is, as you can see above me here in the garage, we've torn out the network rack that we had here. This D-Link 24-port network rack has some bad ports, so we removed it and we put in some shelves here, some rack shelves, and what we're going to do is put in a 10 gig backbone from the server rack in the office to this rack here and upgrade our Blade server here with the newest version of ALP. With a lot more storage, Steam cache, and 10 gig networking. So we'll have 10 gig to the servers, talking to each other. We'll have 10 gig from rack to rack, and then we'll have 2.5 gig to every seat in the house for just future-proofing. And not that any of these computers here have more than 1 gig connections, but to the middle desk here, where people bring their own computers, BYOC, we're going to have 2.5 to every seat. And that should allow some pretty good throughput for people that are trying to install and connect to our games while here at the normal LAN. Then we've also gone through and validated all of the network ports on the walls to make sure they're all working at least gigabit, and that way we can make the most out of this network that we are upgrading. So let's get to work. Now, I've already installed the 10 gig card into what we call the SDL Blade server. That's going to be our mobile server for Comic-Con as well as the garage server. And what we've got here is two 10 gig ports, and then the onboard 1 gig port we use for WAN when we use this as a pfSense router. And the two 10 gig ports will be on there for either VMs or the system itself. And in the other room, if we move from the garage into the board game room, we're working on another server. This is a server that I just rebuilt. It's an old Dell PowerEdge server. It's got 4 3 terabyte drives in here. We're going to put in RAID 5 or RAID 0. Just depends on, we're not really worried about the redundancy because this is going to be the house's Steam cache. When we're not relying on the Blade server here. So we got that to boot. 24 gigs of RAM, looking good. And then in here, this is the server rack itself, so that'll go there. And the incoming line from the garage connects into here. This is a 1 gig switch. We're going to be replacing this with another 24 port with 2 SFP Plus ports for 10 gig here, and then sending that up to the garage shortly. As well as we've got these bad boys. So these have 10 gig up input, and then 4 2.5 gig Ethernet jacks. So this will replace the gigabit 8-port switch in the center row table in the garage, as well as feed the people that are sitting out in the backyard per table. So each row is getting 1 gig at least to a 10 gig backbone. And we'll also use this at Comic-Con to send the server signal out to each row, and that way they're not fighting over a single 1 gig port. And here's our big storage server with our new 10 gig NIC right in the middle. And our next step is the Steam cache is now running, and we have net monitoring to let us know how hard it's being used. In the Blade server, we've got 2 3 terabyte drives in RAID 0 for the RAID Steam cache, a small 120 gig drive for Ubuntu, and then a ½ terabyte drive for Windows Hyper-V as well as ALP. And it doesn't look pretty, but there's our 2 incoming 10 gig ports. One for the garage, and then the other one for the server itself. And then we also have the incoming from the Steam cache, which we're installing SSDs into now. And there's the same switch here in the garage. Don't mind the spaghetti. And the server for the garage will go in here. And as you can see, we have a couple different colors here. 1 gig in amber. Green is 2.5, which goes over to the center table for the BYOC guests. So they have a 2.5 gig connection. And then blue is the 10 gig leading back to the main server rack. All right, and then there's the mobile server for the garage all hooked up. We're showing 2 blue lights, 10 gig in and 10 gig to the server. And it is currently patching all of its games and Windows updates, etc. So now when we're doing updates, we can do multiple 1 gig connections to the server, not having to share a single 1 gig pipeline to the main rack. It took about 8 hours for the cache drives to initialize, but where it is, we've got little under 7.5 terabytes of SSD now filling with the LANCache. And if we head on over to NetStat, we can actually watch the computer do its thing here. Net data. There's the CPU running. There's the disk writes. And it's starting and stopping as the games finish and then start the next game. And that's the end of our 10 gigabit upgrade. We've got 2.5 to every seat. We've got 10 gig going throughout the house. And as we are getting ready to have the opening hours of our 3-day LAN A THON, we have 2.5 gig. So everybody setting up outside.